Houston, a Saturday afternoon in mid-April. The sun was shining brightly, and the park's mansion was filled with laughter. In the spacious living room, light filtered through the cream-colored silk curtains, illuminating the carefully prepared banquet table. Mrs. Linda Park, the hostess of the birthday party, sat in the center, surrounded by relatives, longtime friends, and, of course, her two sons and their wives. Melissa chose to sit at the end of the table, near the window, where it was easy to get up to pour water, clear dishes, and also where she would be least noticed. She wore a modest dress, her hair tied back, and light makeup, but no matter how hard she tried, she was still overshadowed by her sister-in-law Jessica's radiant shadow. Jessica, oh my gosh, you still look as good as when you married Andrew. One of Linda's friends exclaimed. You're a doctor, but you still take good care of yourself. Another added. Jessica smiled gently. Yes, it's just a job. I have to be neat so that the patient can feel secure. Melissa was silent, smiling, picking vegetables for Noah. No one asked her how she was doing. No one asked what Melissa was doing, if she was tired, if she was happy. Noah gently squeezed his wife's hand under the table. That small gesture was the only thing that made her feel present. After dinner, the family moved to the tea room area. On the tea table, Mrs. Linda placed a small, delicately carved wooden box. Mom has this for Jessica, she said, her eyes shining with pride. My great-grandmother's pearl necklace. I still promise to leave it to my eldest daughter-in-law. The whole room was amazed. Jessica reached out to take the box, touched. I don't know what to say. Thank you so much, Mom. Melissa still smiled. But deep inside, she heard something crack slightly. She didn't expect to receive the necklace. But the way everyone clapped, took pictures, called Jessica over to try it on, while she sat silently at a distance, made Melissa feel like a guest, not a family member. It was dark when they left. Melissa and Noah walked to the car in silence. He opened the car door for her, but before she got in, she turned to ask, What do you think I'm doing here, Noah? He looked at her, not understanding. What do you mean? What am I to everyone? A supporting character? A shadow? She's also a daughter-in-law, but Noah didn't answer right away. He looked straight into his wife's eyes and saw not anger, but bottomless sadness. He said softly, I see you. Always. Even if the whole world turns its back on you, I still see you. Melissa smiled sadly, but I want the whole world to see. And for the first time, Noah thought, maybe to let my wife see. I have to stand up, leave the place that is making her fade away. Late that night, in Noah and Melissa's small apartment in West Houston, the house was quiet. The yellow light in the kitchen reflected on the unfinished glass of water. Melissa sat at the dining table, still in her evening dress, having taken off her shoes long ago, but not yet changed. Noah came out of the bedroom, holding a towel, and handed it to her. Take a shower and go to bed early. I turned on the hot water. Melissa looked at him. After a while, she said softly, You know, there are times when I wish I was a doctor. Noah was surprised. Because you like that job? She shook her head. No. Just because if I were a doctor, Mom would look at me like she looks at Jessica. Noah sat down, his hand on his wife's. I know Mom is a bit biased, but don't let that make you think you're less valuable. Melissa smiled softly. I don't feel bad. I just feel I'm being underestimated. From the moment I entered that house, I've always tried my best. From cooking, cleaning, talking, but all my kindness. Your mother just saw as okay. And Jessica just smiled. She saw it as a miracle. Noah didn't argue. He understood that his wife wasn't jealous, wasn't weak. She was just too resilient, to the point that no one noticed that she was tired. Mom used to say, Your sister did well. You don't need to try anymore. I thought she said that to relieve the pressure on me. But now I understand. That was her way of denying my efforts. Noah sat still, then spoke slowly. If that's the case, I don't want you to keep trying. We'll move out. Live our own lives. Melissa looked at her husband. She wasn't surprised. She didn't break down. She just said, "Are you sure? Because if you do, Mom might hate me more." "I don't care who hates who anymore. I just care. Do you still have to live in a house where every time you come home you feel like a little kid again?" That night, for the first time in months, Melissa slept well. Not because she was praised. Not because everything was resolved. Just because someone stood up for her, and that was enough to convince her. I'm not wrong to want to be appreciated. 2 weeks later, at a family friend's intimate party, Melissa and Noah were invited with the whole family to a small birthday party held in the outdoor courtyard, where many of Mr. and Mrs. Park's old friends, who had lived for a long time in the Korean American community near Houston, gathered. The party had a light atmosphere, yellow hanging lights, white painted wooden tables and chairs, soft acoustic music from a Bluetooth speaker in the corner of the yard. Melissa wore a pastel blue linen dress with puffy sleeves, her hair braided lightly at the nape of her neck, simple but sophisticated. She chose flat shoes because she knew she would have to stand for a long time. She was not the type to show off her figure, nor did she care about designer clothes. But Mrs. Linda, as soon as she saw her get out of the car, said softly but clearly, "Why didn't you choose the dress from Emily's wedding? This dress is a bit bland. The party is crowded." Melissa smiled. "As long as you feel comfortable, Mom." Linda nodded, the kind of nod that knows nothing can be changed, so whatever. Less than 10 minutes later, Jessica walked in, clutching a Chanel clutch, a fitted burgundy silk dress, her hair curled slightly to her shoulders. She went straight to the main table where Linda and her best friends were sitting. "Oh my gosh, look at Jessica," one of her aunts exclaimed. "She has the same elegance as those Korean doctors on TV dramas." Linda laughed loudly, holding Jessica's hand. "I've been telling you for a long time. You're the model daughter-in-law. Both talented and caring. Just looking at you, you know you're well educated." Melissa heard everything. No one said she was ugly. No one insulted her. But the way she was ignored hurt more than a criticism. She stood with Noah in a corner further away. He handed her a glass of orange juice and whispered, "You're beautiful." Melissa laughed, but her eyes were sad. "I'm your husband." "Of course I see it," Noah replied, not jokingly, "not because I am your husband, but because I have charisma. And charisma cannot be revealed by wearing a dress." Melissa looked at Noah and for the first time saw in his eyes not only love, but also respect. But at the end of the party, when Mrs. Linda called the children to take a souvenir photo, she was reminded, "Melissa, stand back a little. Jessica's dress is more prominent. You stand in front and block it." Just a word. But in Melissa's heart, it was like a small full stop for the belief that kindness is enough to be respected. That evening, when the couple returned, Melissa took off her dress, folded it neatly, and put it in the laundry bag. She didn't say anything. Noah hugged his wife from behind, only saying, "I think you should wear whatever makes you feel like yourself. Not what pleases my mother." And Melissa smiled, even though in her heart there was a broken flower branch. But her husband's eyes were still the only sunlight that helped other buds grow. A Sunday afternoon at the Parks house. Noah came home alone. Melissa was at a training session at the school, a teacher development program organized by the school district. Noah walked into the house. Mrs. Linda was in the kitchen, making tea with her cousin from Atlanta. The air in the house smelled of baked goods and mint from the pot of warm water. "You're here?" "Mom's making tea," Mrs. Linda called from the kitchen. Noah took off his shoes and went inside. He poured himself a glass of water and walked out to the back porch, sitting on the familiar wooden chair. The weather in Houston was unusually cool. The wind was light, and the sun was golden like silk. He didn't notice that the kitchen door was ajar, and his mother's voice, though small, still echoed out. Jessica is needless to say. She's smart, clever, and knows how to deal with people. As for Melissa, she's good. But then again, Noah is very lucky. His wife is not outstanding, but she is less chaotic. Nowadays, a daughter-in-law who shows off all day on social media is a headache. The cousin nodded. Yeah. Having someone like that is considered reassuring. At least she doesn't show off. Noah squeezed his glass of water lightly. He didn't go in. He just stood up quietly and walked towards the backyard, where Melissa had planted the orange tree in the first year of their marriage, now as tall as her shoulder. He stood there, remembering his wife's question the day before, "What are you in the eyes of everyone?" And now he knew the answer, a decent choice. A person who doesn't cause much trouble. That evening, when he got home, Melissa was sitting reviewing her lesson plans on her laptop. Noah put down the bag of fruit he bought from the market and looked at his wife. Do you know, sometimes words that seem like compliments are people's way of labeling you in a comfortable way, so they don't need to understand anything deeper. Melissa raised her head and smiled softly. What do you mean? Noah sat down. Today I heard my mother say, "You're gentle, not too rowdy." And she said, "I'm lucky to have you, even though you're not outstanding." Melissa didn't seem surprised. She just took a sip of tea and said, "I know. I've heard that for a long time. At first, I was sad. Later, I got used to it." Noah looked at his wife, his heart aching. This woman, every time she was hurt, she chose to smile so as not to make anyone feel awkward. He said, "But I'm not used to it. And I don't want you to get used to it. You're not a temporary choice. You're the one I chose because you're strong, gentle, and powerful enough to walk beside me and not hide behind anyone." Melissa looked at Noah. This time, she didn't say anything. She just tilted her head and placed her hand on her husband's hand, lightly. A gentle squeeze, in lieu of a thank you. That same night, Noah opened his laptop, looking for apartments to rent near the center. A place that was just right, but private enough that Melissa wouldn't have to hear any more compliments. It was a weekend night. The Houston weather had turned to light rain. Noah and Melissa had just finished dinner outside, a small Italian restaurant in the Montrose neighborhood where they had first dated. The space was still cozy as before, but something was quiet inside Melissa. As soon as the car was parked in the garage, Noah turned off the engine, but the two of them remained silent. The windshield wipers made a soft sound. Rain rolled down the glass, reflecting the dim streetlights. Melissa spoke first, her voice soft. "If I didn't have a stable job, if I wasn't a teacher, if I was just a housewife, no achievements, no degrees, nothing, would you still choose me?" Noah turned to look at his wife. Her eyes did not shed tears, but there was a deep sense of confusion. Because I kept thinking, I needed to do something to be valuable. I needed to teach well, live kindly, talk properly. But then I was still just, she's okay. Have you ever seen me as your first choice? Noah did not rush to answer. He unbuckled his seatbelt and leaned toward her. Melissa, you are the only one who makes me feel truly at peace. You're not someone else's first choice, but you are the only choice I have never doubted. Not because of what you can do, but because of who you are. Melissa turned away. She did not want him to see her cheeks red. She did not want to shed tears over a timely answer. But I am tired, Noah. Tired of having to prove that I am good enough. Noah took her hand. Then, stop proving it. Just live the way you want to live. That night, they sat on the sofa until late, without the TV on. Melissa rested her head on her husband's shoulder. Her mother-in-law's old words still echoed in her head. But for the first time, they didn't have the power to stab her heart. The next day, they applied for a small apartment in Midtown. Not far, but close enough to create a safe distance. And on the last night before moving, Melissa sat down and wrote in her diary, "People don't need to be flashy to be loved. Just have someone quiet enough to see the beauty in their simplicity. It was a chilly Saturday morning, even though it was mid-May. Noah dragged the cardboard boxes out onto the porch. The new apartment was only a 15-minute drive from the old one, but it felt like they were stepping into another world, where there were no comparisons, no prejudicial compliments, no shadow of the standard daughter-in-law. Melissa packed each cup into a box, carefully wrapping it in newspaper. She didn't bring much, just what belonged to them. Not a house, not material things, but their own living space. As Noah drove the first delivery, his phone rang. It was Andrew, his brother. "Mom knows we're moving." "She's mad," Noah replied. "Did she ask why?" Andrew was silent for a moment. "Mom just said, go if you like it." And Jessica smiled slightly and said, "Being too independent makes you distant." Noah chuckled. Not sarcastically, but a slight smile because it was so familiar. We don't become independent to distance ourselves. We become independent to get closer to ourselves. In the afternoon, they returned to the old house to get the rest of their things. Mrs. Linda was sitting watching TV. She didn't come out to say hello. Didn't ask. Melissa walked into the kitchen, took the spice box and the wooden trays she used to bake cakes. When she came back, Mrs. Linda said, her eyes not leaving the screen, "Clean everything up. Leave nothing behind?" Melissa stopped and said softly, "I only took what was ours. What you gave me, I'll keep." Mrs. Linda smiled faintly. "Okay. If you like, go. Let's see how long you can live separately." Noah came in from outside and heard that sentence. He didn't say anything, just looked at his mother for a long time, then held his wife's hand. "You don't need to understand. Just remember. Every time Melissa leaves this house, it's another time she tells herself she won't come back." On the way to the new apartment, Melissa sat still. Noah turned on some soft music. The guitar from the car speakers seemed to soothe her. After a while, she said, "I don't hate your mother." Noah turned to her. "I know. I'm just afraid. If I stay here one day, I'll hate myself." They stopped the car. The new apartment wasn't big, but it was bright, and it had a balcony big enough for Melissa to plant a few rosemary plants. She walked into the new kitchen, opened the cupboards, and arranged the dishes. Noah hugged her from behind. "Welcome home." Melissa smiled, leaning her head against his chest. "For the first time, I feel like a kitchen is really mine. Not a place to cook to please anyone, but a place where I choose to live." In the last box, she found the notebook Noah had given her on their wedding day. On the first page was a handwritten line. "This life is long enough for us to learn to be patient, and short enough not to wait for anyone to acknowledge us before we dare to live right." She gently folded it. "Now I'm starting to live for myself." A Tuesday morning. The apartment is less than a week old. Melissa is cleaning the kitchen counters, rearranging the spice jars when the doorbell rings. She's not expecting a visitor. Noah is at school. He has a back-to-back class this morning. She opens the door. It's Mrs. Linda, wearing a gray suit, flat shoes, holding a small cloth bag and a look, neither friendly nor hostile, just the kind of look of someone who always thinks she's right. "I stopped by on my way. Is that okay?" Melissa invites me in, makes a cup of ginger tea, sets up a small table near the window. After a few polite questions, "Is it noisy here? Is it far to the market? The kitchen is a bit small?" Mrs. Linda opens the cloth bag, takes out a stack of A4 papers. "I've written a few things, so you can adjust gradually. You know, being a daughter-in-law is not just about living alone." Melissa is a little stunned. She looks at the papers. Bold title. "Things a daughter-in-law should know to become the pillar of the family." She skimmed through. Should wear collared clothes when meeting relatives. Should not let husband wash dishes after dinner. Should go to the husband's house at least twice a month on Sundays. Every holiday. Should call to congratulate the elders in the family. Should not show attitude in front of children, if any. Melissa raised her head, smiled lightly. Do you think this is the common denominator for all daughters-in-law? Mrs. Linda sipped tea, not answering directly. I used to think you knew how to behave. But it seems you are still too young. Living alone is your right. But being a daughter-in-law, a lifelong role. Melissa folded the stack of papers, gently. I always respect you, Mom. But I also hope I can live my own way. I don't think I'm a perfect person. But I also don't believe that completing a list will make anyone a better person. Mrs. Linda put down her teacup. She stood up and adjusted her bag. I don't forbid anything. Just don't wait until you have children, then you will understand what adults say. After Mrs. Linda left, Melissa stood by the window for a long time. She wasn't angry, nor was she sad like before. Just a new understanding. There are people who never change. But I have the right not to be held back by the way they see the world. That afternoon when Noah came home, Melissa showed him the stack of papers. He finished reading, remained silent, then tore each sheet in half and threw it in the trash. No one has the right to teach you how to be a daughter-in-law when they themselves have never learned how to be an understanding mother-in-law. Melissa smiled, the first time she felt relieved since moving away. Maturity sometimes doesn't come from becoming stronger. It comes from no longer needing recognition from people who don't understand you. Weekend. Dinner at Linda's house. Even though they had moved out, Noah and Melissa still kept their manners. Every 2 weeks, they came back for dinner, chatted, and kept their relationship warm enough to not turn cold. Today, the whole family was there. Andrew, Jessica, the 2 kids, Linda, Harold. Melissa brought along an Italian stew, Noah's favorite. She placed it gently on the table, preparing the bowls and spoons when Jessica came out of the kitchen, holding little Max. Max is done eating. He likes the mashed carrots that Mom made better than heavy dishes like this. No one said anything. Melissa smiled lightly, but Linda interrupted. Children should eat simple food, Melissa. I think your dishes are more suitable for adults. During the meal, Jessica began telling a story. Last week, I sent Lily to piano lessons. She was very interested. You have to have an early orientation, otherwise you will be passive when you grow up. I hear a lot of girls come home from school and just hang around the kitchen. What a waste. Melissa was silent. Jessica's eyes were fixed on her, though her words were unclear. Noah put down his chopsticks. I think every child has their own journey. No one is the same. And not everyone who cooks at home is not capable. Jessica smiled, sipping her wine, of course. I'm just speaking in general. After dinner, while cleaning up, Jessica leaned over to Melissa. Don't be sad if Max and Lily grow up faster. But you should think about having a child soon. Noah needs a baby anyway, at least so she can hold it. Melissa clenched her kitchen towel. She turned around, her voice still soft. Everyone chooses a different time. And I believe every child needs a mother who is mature, not just old enough. That evening, when she returned to the apartment, Melissa didn't say much. She made a cup of cocoa and sat on the balcony. Noah came closer and pulled up a chair next to her. Do you feel hurt? Melissa nodded. Not because of Jessica, but because I feel like I'm being measured by metrics that have nothing to do with happiness. Noah squeezed her hand. I'm here, not because you're perfect, but because you're kind enough not to have anything to prove. The moon rose. Melissa wrote in her notebook, Today I learned. A good mother is not someone who gives birth early, but someone who never uses children to hurt others. A birthday party for Mr. Harold, held at a small restaurant outside Houston. The atmosphere was cozy, with quite a few relatives gathered. Melissa wore a simple olive-colored dress, her hair neatly tied up. Noah walked beside her, his hand gently placed on his wife's back, as he had always done since moving out. The party was intimate. Mr. Harold cut the cake. Mrs. Linda went to each table to greet and chat. When she reached the group of close relatives, While raising her glass to celebrate, she suddenly said, "In this family, Jessica is the one with the most future. She knows how to take care of children and work in finance. Her salary is 3 times that of Noah's." The atmosphere froze for a moment. A relative burst out laughing. "What about Noah's Melissa?" Mrs. Linda did not notice Melissa's gaze. She just replied innocently, "She is gentle and kind. She teaches at home, is stable, but if we talk about long-term development, Jessica is more obvious." Noah squeezed his wife's hand under the table. Melissa smiled, nodded slightly to her relatives, then asked permission to go to the bathroom. She stood in front of the mirror, washing her hands slowly. Each word echoed in her head, stable, gentle, but has no future. When she came back, she passed by the dining table and heard an aunt whisper, "Melissa must be very sad to hear that. But I have to admit, Jessica is truly a modern woman. Melissa is too introverted. I wonder if she can handle it." That night, when Melissa got home, she didn't say anything. She didn't show any anger, didn't cry. She just cleaned up, then went into her office, opened her lesson plan to prepare for tomorrow's class. Noah walked in after her. He sat down next to her. "You don't have to pretend to be okay." Melissa turned around, her eyes unusually bright. "I'm okay. But not because of what they said, but because I know. If I let other people's words decide my worth, then my whole life will be just a copy." Noah hugged her. Didn't say anything more. Melissa closed her eyes. Silent. But for the first time, in her heart there was a strong whisper, "I don't need anyone to choose me as the best. I just need a place to be myself and to stay for a long time." Monday morning. Early summer sunlight poured through the kitchen window. Melissa sat in her chair, holding a ceramic mug that read, "Be kind to yourself." Noah had left for work early, leaving a note on the table. "Have a nice week. Remember to eat breakfast." N. Melissa had planned to go for a checkup today, after a few weeks of mild fatigue, dizziness, and nausea. She had thought it was work stress. But her feminine instincts made her buy a pregnancy test at the last minute, just to be sure. 10 minutes later, she was sitting motionless in the bathroom. 2 lines. Melissa burst into tears, whether from happiness, fear, or emptiness. She wasn't sure. She called Noah. "I was in a meeting, but when I saw your name, I asked to leave." "What's wrong?" I think I'm pregnant." Noah was silent for a few seconds. Then his voice broke out, warm, "I'm coming. I'm coming." In the afternoon. After going to the clinic to confirm and hugging each other in the cramped car in the parking lot, they decided to tell their family the following night at dinner. Tuesday night, at Linda's house. The whole family gathered. Jessica was telling the story of Max's newfound ability to say no. Linda was ladling soup, nodding and commenting on politics on TV. Noah interrupted, "Mom, Melissa and I are going to have a baby." There was silence for a few seconds. Jessica looked up, then smiled softly. "Really? Congratulations." And Linda paused. Now, the first sentence. Not congratulations, not how long has it been. Just 2 words, half surprised, half reluctant. Melissa forced a smile. "Yes, it's been 6 weeks." Linda put down her spoon and leaned back. I just hope you know how to take care of yourself. Having a baby is not just a private matter between the 2 of you." During the meal, she didn't say anything more. When she left, Jessica whispered in Melissa's ear, "Mom was just surprised. She's like that. But remember to save your strength." That night, Melissa sat by the bed, her hand on her stomach. Noah knelt down on one knee, hugging her. "No matter how Mom reacts, you're not alone. We're family. And our child will grow up with love, not comparison." Melissa nodded slightly, for the first time touching a tiny belief. "Baby, even if the world is silent, I will still call your name with all the love I have." It was a Sunday in late July. Clear sky, light wind. Melissa was sitting with Noah at a small cafe near the house. She ordered a cup of hot matcha. She had limited coffee since she was pregnant. Noah was reading an email when his phone vibrated. A photo appeared from the family chat group. Jessica and Andrew celebrating Max's first birthday. Pastel blue backdrop, bright balloons. Two-tiered cake. A long table full of gifts, friends, relatives, but no Melissa. Noah paused. Melissa saw. She smiled, but it was a sad smile. Do you know anything about this party? No. I thought they were having a small party at home. Jessica didn't say anything. That night, Melissa received a text from a cousin. You're not going to Max's first birthday? It was so much fun. Melissa should be there. She typed a few words, then deleted them. Finally, she just replied, I didn't know there was a party. A week later, Jessica called Noah. I didn't mean to leave Melissa out. It's just a small party, my friend. I thought Melissa would feel awkward. Noah was silent. I know Melissa is pregnant. I was worried if she was tired and still tried to come. Noah only said one sentence. Thank you for thinking of my wife. But next time, don't make that decision for my wife. Melissa wasn't angry. She was just quieter from that day on. She didn't mention Jessica. She didn't ask about Max. Noah knew. Hurt doesn't always come from words. It comes from being ignored. From feeling like you don't count as family. One night, Melissa wrote in her notebook, family doesn't need to be fancy. It just needs to be invited and not have to wonder, do I belong here? She put her hand on her stomach and whispered, baby, I promise if you ever have a birthday party, I won't forget to invite anyone who loves you, no matter how different they are. One Friday afternoon, while Melissa was taking a nap, the doorbell rang. She went to open it and saw a delivery man standing with a small cardboard box bearing the sender's name, Harold Turner. Melissa was surprised. She signed for it, took it inside, and opened it. Inside was a small, delicate lacquered wooden box. On the lid was engraved the words, "A home begins with kindness." She opened the box. Inside was a small silver necklace with a moonstone pendant. There was also a handwritten envelope, light brown paper, in the familiar handwriting of Harold, Linda's husband. To Melissa, I know this isn't a big gift, but I picked it out over a year ago, after you spent the afternoon helping me put together a bookshelf in the garage. You didn't say much that day, but your patience reminded me of your mother, the sweetest woman I've ever met. This family doesn't always know how to show love, but no one can deny that you're the good thing Noah brought home. Don't let anyone make you feel like you're the one who's not important. Families don't start with who's right, they start with who's kind first. P.S. The necklace has a moonstone pendant, a stone of protection and peace. I hope it helps you see that you're always appreciated, even if no one says it. Love. Harold. Melissa finished reading. Sitting by the window for a long time, the afternoon breeze blew through the curtains. She put her hand on her belly, then on the necklace. Noah came home earlier than usual. Seeing her sitting there, he asked, "What's wrong?" Melissa smiled, but it was the first smile with a slight tear. Your husband is not the only one in this family with a beautiful heart. That night, she texted Harold. I got the gift, and the gentleness that I thought I had lost faith in. Thank you, Dad, for not being silent like everyone else. She put the letter in the bedside drawer, right next to her pregnancy diary. Under the date, she wrote, not everyone in a house makes us feel warm, but just one person is enough to make me feel I'm never really alone. August, the air began to get hot. While Melissa was going through a peaceful pregnancy, on the other side, Jessica gradually noticed the silence. She noticed that her mother-in-law texted less often to ask how she was, even though she used to send pictures of her grandchild every morning. Harold barely interacted with her social media posts, something he used to do regularly. One afternoon, When Jessica brought Max to her grandparents' house, Linda said only one sentence. "Come in and play. I'm busy calling Melissa." Jessica smiled slightly, but there was a vague scratch in her heart. She began to remember the times she had accidentally, or intentionally, left Melissa out of conversations, invitations, and family photos. Although no one blamed her, the silence was spreading like ink in water. The next day, Jessica was driving to pick up Lily from art class when her car suddenly stopped in the middle of the highway. Lily panicked. She quickly turned on her hazard lights, picked her son up from the car in the middle of heavy traffic. No one helped, until a silver car stopped. The window rolled down. It was Noah. "Are you okay?" Jessica was stunned. Why are you here?" "Melissa went to the doctor nearby. I stopped by the gas station and saw your car." Noah helped her get Lily into the car, pushing the dead car to the side of the road. On the way, Jessica suddenly burst into tears. "I feel like everyone in my family hates me. I didn't mean to exclude Melissa. I just thought she was so different. So soft. Not like the strong woman I know." Noah said nothing. He just looked straight ahead and replied, "Different doesn't mean weak. And strong doesn't mean you can't do anything wrong." When they got to Jessica's house, Melissa had just called Noah. After hearing his story, she was silent for a few seconds and then said, "Ask Jessica if she's free tomorrow. I want to invite her out for tea. Just the two of us." Noah nodded. For the first time, he felt maybe a crack was about to be mended. Saturday morning. Soft sunlight spread across the small garden behind Melissa's apartment. Jessica arrived on time. She was wearing a simple linen dress, holding a box of homemade cookies, an awkward but sincere effort. Melissa opened the door, smiling. There was no obvious distance. No hug, just respect between two women who had once stood on opposite sides. The tea table was placed in the shade, with lavender beside it. Melissa poured tea gently. "Thank you for coming. I know it's not easy to invite you, and it's not easy to accept." Jessica nodded. "Thank you for inviting me too. Perhaps this is the first time we've sat down and talked without anyone interrupting." A few seconds of silence. Melissa spoke. "I know, I'm not like the people you know. I'm not good at socializing. Nor do I have a glamorous career. But I've never thought of myself as a burden to this family." Jessica squeezed her hand. "You're not. I'm the one who behaved badly. I felt threatened because Noah loved you more than the praise I received from everyone." Melissa looked at Jessica. No surprise. Just a truth, revealed after years of keeping it secret. Jessica continued, "I used to think women should be strong, have status, make good money. But I forgot that there are some of the strongest people who dare to live gently, in a world that always forces them to be thorny." Melissa smiled. "For the first time, truly from the heart, I've been hurt a lot by you. But I also understand everyone is struggling with some kind of expectation." Jessica looked up, her eyes red. "I'm sorry. Not because of what you said, but because of the way you made me feel unwelcome." Melissa stood up, went to the kitchen, and took out a small box. "I was going to send it to Max. But then I thought maybe I should give it to him in person." Jessica opened it. Inside was a handmade photo book with blank pages for photos and notes. The first page read, "Every child deserves a book that tells the story of their childhood from the people who love them most." Jessica hugged the book. And for the first time, she didn't feel superior or inferior to anyone. She just felt being forgiven. One late evening, Mrs. Linda cleaned the house after dinner. The house was quiet. Jessica had brought Max home. Mr. Harold was reading in his room. She was alone washing the dishes, wiping the table, and checking her phone on Facebook, her nightly routine. She saw the photo Jessica posted, the photo book Melissa gave Max. The short caption, "A gift from someone I never understood." Thank you for your kindness without asking for anything in return. Mrs. Linda paused for a long time, remembering the many times she defended Jessica, blamed Melissa, the seemingly harmless comments that left a deep impression. She never asked Melissa if she was okay with being ignored. Never apologized for saying bad things. Always assumed Jessica was better, deserved better, for her career, for her image. That night, she entered the room and sat down next to Harold. Do you think I was wrong? Harold didn't look up from his book, just gently replied, not wrong, but maybe not fair enough. She was silent. For the first time, she didn't try to argue. She just felt. Her heart was a little heavy. She opened a drawer and took out the painting Melissa had drawn last year, Autumn in Oregon, that she had forgotten in the living room. Quietly, she framed it and placed it on the bookshelf. The next day, she texted Melissa, "Are you free? I want to invite you to tea. Nothing important. I just feel like I need to learn how to be a better mother again." Melissa read the text. Her heart stopped, not because of anger, but because she didn't expect it to happen. She replied after a few minutes, "I'm free this afternoon. Just tell me the time." In the afternoon, Mrs. Linda made tea and prepared some cookies. No fuss, no reason. Just a mother wanting to start over in a gentler way. It was a light rain that late afternoon. Melissa arrived on time. She was wearing a long coat, her arms covering her growing belly. Mrs. Linda had prepared a small tea table in the living room with daisies, homemade cookies, and herbal tea. They sat down. Neither of them spoke for the first few minutes. Melissa looked around. She suddenly saw the framed painting, Autumn in Oregon, placed proudly on the bookshelf, the one she had given her a year ago, which Mrs. Linda had forgotten in an old cardboard box. "You hung it up, Mom?" Mrs. Linda nodded, not looking her daughter-in-law in the eye. "I should have hung it up a long time ago. But I just realized its true meaning." Silence. But not a cold silence. It was the silence of two people relearning how to talk, with the truth. Mrs. Linda slowly poured tea. "I used to think Melissa was too gentle, wouldn't know how to take care of the family. But I saw, from Noah's eyes, from the way you talked to Lily. You are the one who brings peace to this house." Melissa smiled, but tears were already welling up in the corners of her eyes. "I used to think you would never accept me. But today, I know, maybe I was partly wrong." The tea gradually cooled. Mrs. Linda looked at Melissa, softly saying, "I'm not good at apologizing. But today, I want to say this. Even though you're different from Jessica, even though you're not the person I imagined for Noah, but I was wrong not to give you a chance to prove yourself." Melissa gently held her hand. "No one is perfect. I don't expect you to change completely. Just, let's not avoid each other anymore." For the first time, they finished their cups of tea. Not too intimate. No strings attached. Just two women, starting over on a rainy afternoon and a warm cup of chamomile tea. Sunday. The sky was clear. The smell of freshly cut grass mixed with the gentle sunshine. Noah put his hand on Melissa's shoulder as they walked together in the park near their house. Melissa wore soft flat shoes. Holding a small paper bag of cookies she had just baked, for first-time dads, she joked. They walked slowly. On the side of the road, children were playing tag. A small family was picnicking on the carpet. Melissa smiled, her eyes sparkling. "Do you think we can do it?" Noah held her hand tighter. "Parenthood? Absolutely. Even if you're so nervous that you Google it every night, I know, we'll be fine." They sat down on a wooden bench under a tree. Noah pulled a new notebook from his pocket, cloth-bound, light blue. "I want us to rewrite our family story. Not about what went wrong, but about what we will choose right from now on." Melissa turned to the first page. On it were the words he had written. "We don't need to be perfect to be a family. We just need to love, every day a little bit enough." They began to write. 1 page a week. About the first time they argued but still chose to hold hands. About Noah's burnt noodles, but Melissa still ate them all. About the morning Melissa felt nauseous and Noah burst into tears when he saw their baby's heartbeat for the first time. What do you think? We should name our baby. Melissa looked up. She thought for a moment and then smiled. If it's a girl, I want to call her Hope. Because I see what I have today is the hope I held on to, even though I wanted to let go at times. At the end of the day, they passed a used bookstore. Melissa pointed to a children's book, A Family Just Like Ours. We should buy this book. Read it to him, right from the womb. Noah nodded. Pulling out his wallet, I bought 2 copies. One to read, one to keep. So that later, when he asks, where did our family start? We can answer, from a storybook. And the 2 of us choosing not to leave each other. Saturday, the weather was cool, no special occasion. But Melissa took the initiative to send a message in the family group. Is anyone free this weekend? I'm cooking something. Invite everyone over. The message was sent at 9 a.m. By noon, everyone had responded. Jessica, Sister and Max are coming. Andrew, I'll help you bake. Linda, Mom's making salad. Harold just left a thumbs up. Noah sent a sticker of a bear holding a fruit tray. That afternoon, Melissa and Noah's small apartment was filled with laughter. Melissa cooked Italian stew, garlic bread, and grapefruit tea. Jessica brought a kale salad. Andrew cut the cake and talked about the office while cutting it. Harold took Lily for a walk around the yard. Linda made mint lemonade, wiped the sweat off Melissa's forehead. Don't stand in the kitchen too much. Let me finish. They didn't talk about what had happened. No one talks about the past, just the stories of today and the laughter of tomorrow. Melissa finds Lily sitting next to Max drawing. The 2 of them are coloring a house, with smoke billowing from the chimney and a white picket fence. What are you drawing, Lily? I'm drawing our house, Mom. We're always together. No one's left out. Noah looks at his daughter, his eyes sparkling. Melissa squeezes his hand under the table. Jessica looks over, smiling. Dinner ends with homemade coconut ice cream. Harold says, sometimes you don't need Thanksgiving, you don't need Christmas. Just a warm dinner to remind you, you have a real family. Melissa has a new piece of paper on the refrigerator. Lily has written in black marker. A family is where everyone has a name, and no one is left out. December. Light snow falls on the outskirts of Portland. St. Clair was bustling with footsteps and the call of nurses. Melissa lay on the delivery bed, Noah sitting next to her. Her hand clasping his, cold sweat beading on her forehead. She had overcome the first contractions, and now their baby was about to be born. Outside the delivery room, the family sat waiting. Tense and nervous. Jessica sat by the window holding Max. Linda was fingering her rosary, mumbling a prayer. Harold stood against the wall, his hands clasped behind his back. Andrew brought coffee to everyone. Around 3 p.m., a loud cry broke the silence. The delivery room door opened. A nurse smiled. A baby girl, mother and child safe and sound. Everyone stood up. Linda cried. Jessica hugged her. Andrew patted Harold on the shoulder. Noah walked out a few minutes later. In his arms was the little girl wrapped in a cream-colored blanket. He choked. Our daughter is Hope. They came to look at Hope one by one. Jet black hair, rosy skin, plump lips. Melissa was pushed out next. She was weak but smiling brightly. She looked at everyone. Everyone was there. No one was missing. No one was left behind. Mrs. Linda approached, holding her daughter-in-law's hand. You did well. Thank you for believing in this family, even when we weren't worthy. That night, in the hospital room, Melissa held her son close. Noah sat by the bed, his hand on his wife's back. The 3 of them fell asleep, in the peace of a new beginning. On the table, next to the vase of flowers, was a notebook. The last page read, December 12th, Hope was born. A name, a promise. This family will not only have each other, but learn to be for each other. 3 weeks after Hope was born, on a quiet winter morning, Melissa sat by the window. Hope was sleeping in her crib. The house was filled with soft sunlight. Noah was making coffee in the kitchen, humming a few happy lullabies. Melissa took out her notebook, opened it to a new page. She picked up her pen and began to write. To Melissa, past, and to Hope, future. Maybe you will read this when you are old enough to understand. I was not sure I could be a good wife, a good mother, or a worthy member of the family. But today, I know being a mother, being a wife, is not about being perfect. It is about learning to get up after every time you fall. Learning to listen when no one defends. And learning to forgive even when no one has said sorry. I was afraid I would not be loved enough. But I was wrong. Your father, a man of few words but full of trust, taught me to love myself again. And you, Hope, even before you could say a word, you made me feel like I was the most important person in this little world. If one day you feel the world is unfair, if you are left behind, misunderstood, taken for granted, remember, I am here. And I have been there. Don't choose to be tough to protect yourself from being hurt. Choose to be kind, because you deserve it. I don't expect you to be anything other than yourself. But I hope you will live with a heart big enough to forgive and strong enough to hold on to what you believe is right. Melissa put down her pen, folded the page, put it in an envelope. On the envelope, she wrote, "For Hope, open at 18. Noah hugged her from behind, whispering, "Write something good, huh?" Melissa nodded, her eyes welling up. A letter. Not just for you, but for your sister from 5 years ago. And that's how a story ends. Not with a perfect ending, but with a tender promise. From a woman who thought she wasn't enough, and then realized she had always been the mother her child needed.